Hi, Peter. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good to see you, Angela.
And you, Peter. So, just following the recent conference, where, as you know, we had lots of inquiries, positive conversations regarding continuous vulnerability scanning and testing, a solution that we offer at TIAA. I thought it would be useful just to take some time out just to explore further what it actually is, and have that opportunity to ask those why, when, how, what auditor kind of type questions. Can you tell me about your experience, Peter?
Yeah, thanks, Angela. So I head up the team basically of digital advisory services within TIA and work with a team of really highly skilled and qualified IT assurance specialists. So for my background, I'm a chartered IT professional. I've also got my CISA qualification, and I've been working directly kind of in assessing IT security since 2002, maybe a bit before, primarily working with public sector clients to understand their needs for cybersecurity and actually help kind of mitigate those cybersecurity risks. One of the things that's been really useful is actually having access to work with audit committee chairs and board members to really get to the root of their cybersecurity sort of risks and concerns they have, because so often cybersecurity falls into that sort of too complex box. It's quite a technical and demanding and difficult subject, and it's really hard for them to articulate actually what they need as far as expertise, assurances, and advisory in that area. So one of the great things that we're doing with this product is helping bridge that gap and providing a useful solution.
How is vulnerability scanning different? And I guess as an organisation, why should we be thinking about continuous vulnerability testing?
I've seen, to be frank, some really terrible penetration testing reports from vendors in my time, and the frustrations that I have as an IT techie is that it's just jargon. There's just too much stuff in there that doesn't make sense, and it doesn't tell you what the real world problems are for you. So our approach is new and innovative, and we put assurance first. So we recognize the need for effective non-technical reporting, as well as providing IT staff that support for kind of addressing those gaps and addressing the issues that they've got. And most organizations sort of focus on their annual penetration test. But what that's not giving them then is an assurance opinion, a view for the rest of the year. After
Mhm.
all, these vulnerabilities are happening and changing all the time. What about the latest vulnerability that was just discovered last week? What about the changes that IT made to a server last week? Our solution is effective and it's scalable as well. So it'll match your appetite for risk as well as giving you some options and kind of an opportunity to fit to your budget as well, because we recognize not everyone's got the same budget. The main difference between a penetration test and a vulnerability scan is that we don't actually utilize an attack. So we don't exploit the vulnerability to further extend the testing. We will tell you about the vulnerabilities in the same way, but we won't actually break anything. We don't break your security, but we will prove the vulnerability exists. So it's a much more supportive solution.
So, without getting too techie again, I guess, is this safe to do?
Yes, absolutely. We've had a lot of experience delivering this type of scanning service, and um, generally, most organisations, their IT staff don't even know that we've done the scan. They don't even detect
Okay.
it. Our tool is completely benign. We don't install anything. We don't leave anything behind, and we don't affect the systems that could be exploited further later on by an attacker. In fact, I say it's so light touch that most of our IT staff don't even detect that scans are going on at any time. So it's a very effective service and it's completely safe. If you've got particular concerns, again, we're very kind of minded of everyone's risk appetite. So we can actually do this in silent hours if that's preferred, so that we don't kind of destroy your sort of confidence that you've got with, oh, we've got an important payroll to run, or we've got a particular thing that we're doing and we can't have any interruption.
Okay, that sounds good. So, how would we know as clients if a vulnerability has been found, identified? I guess in terms of how do you report your findings and follow those up, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think from the outset, it's really important to stress the fact we do this work with you. Okay. A lot of times I see sort of penetration tests delivered by other vendors where it's a very combative type approach, and actually it's almost like a point scoring of we found X, Y, and Z and you're weak and we've beaten you. But this is a much more supportive view. So what we do with the scan and the reporting is we kind of use the same terminology. So we line to those things, they're called CVEs, common vulnerabilities and exposures. And that gives then IT staff the opportunity to look things up and actually get the answers that they need, as well as sort of investigating things and know what the vulnerabilities are. But I think the most important part for me is the fact that we actually give you that sort of exec summary on a page, so a report on a page, which is very similar to our audit reports, which gives really robust assurance views on issues that we found, as well as the good practices that we've identified along the way. And what we do with the tools as well is that we have the ability to, to keep updating these things. So unlike a lot of legacy type pen testing, where you're sort of using tools and trying to manually exploit particular vulnerabilities, we have a range of profiles that we can apply depending again on what the purpose is. So if I gave you, for instance, an example, some organizations take payment cards. So we have a specific set of requirements that are necessary to be proven for payment card industry compliance. We also have then the ability to kind of apply the testing against what's called the OWASP Top 10, which is the Open Web Application Security Project. So we have all the best practice, we have best of breed tools here. And what we're doing is giving you kind of the confidence that you're not going to end up with a penetration test report that you just don't understand, but we're doing the same level of testing, the same veracity of testing that you would need.
So just briefly, Peter, what are your sort of typical findings when you've done these scan tests previously?
Yeah, it can be really mixed. It tends to vary. A lot of organizations are obviously very focused on sort of hitting their patching compliance, and that may be something that they report into their kind of management reporting or as a KPI. Look at us, we've patched everything within 14 days. But the beauty of this sort of vulnerability scanning is that you're not marking your own homework. You've now got an independent assurance check on whether or not those changes, those patches, those updates have actually been effective. We've seen things, for instance, we've had one organisation that the IT manager was convinced we wouldn't find anything, and I'm afraid to say that there was an awful lot of information that came out. We've seen kind of a server that was leaking far more information about even like user accounts that it should have been keeping kind of secure. And the problem with that is that then, a real world attacker could have used that to leverage a much more serious data breach or a malware attack or an encryption attack. So, we're very cognizant, and what we do is kind of come up with credible sort of assessment of what the risks are and actually help you focus the prioritization to kind of hit the right important things first.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. I mean, it just sounds like an obvious solution, and one that will bolster any assurance framework within an organisation, a real added value piece of assurance. How do we sign up? What's the process in terms of having this as a viable solution?
Okay, as I sort of said earlier, this is really important to understand that we work with you, not against you. And as part of that initial engagement, we go through the scoping exercise with you to understand kind of what systems you would like to look at, where is that critical data, what would cause me the greatest loss if I was to lose it, both in terms of reputation or potential, punitive fine if it's a data breach of personal identifiable information. So what we'll do is work through that with you and actually then help you understand kind of your prioritization areas of areas of vulnerability that you need to focus on. And that may be part of your kind of infrastructure, because let's face it, most of us are now working from home, and we have the joys of that. And how that works is actually we just take for granted, but there are security vulnerabilities that come with it. But we also sort of look at if you've got, for instance, particularly vulnerable areas. So I mentioned earlier about sort of payment card information, or maybe you've got kind of information within your housing portal that could potentially leak information about your tenants, or kind of confidential information. Maybe you've got sort of tenants who are particularly vulnerable and could be exploited further. So it's really important that we understand where those kind of important things are first, and then help build a program with you that identifies both your sort of risk appetite and also then your budgetary sort of constraints. So the idea is you'll kind of come back with a range of options, and it's for you to then decide kind of which you'd like to do. And one of the things I think that's really important about this is also recognizing that as a subscription service, you're effectively buying a range of credits, and you can then use those in a sort of proactive scheduled scan. So we could look at, key servers maybe every 3 months or monthly or weekly or whatever you want to do. But then you've also got kind of on-call, call-off type scans where you can go, right, we've just seen this result on BBC News today that there's a vulnerability and we want to check if we're vulnerable. And we can actually then use one of your scan credits to actually check for you and react in that sense.
Now, thanks, Peter. That's been really helpful.
Great stuff. Thanks, Angela. I hope that's kind of lifted the lid a bit, because it can be a very technical and complex thing. But as I say, it's really important that we sort of have those discussions about what good assurance looks like, and stop hiding behind, oh, we've got an annual pen test and that's all we need.